If you prefer your gangs to be agile, toxic, and female, then we've got the one for you. Hello and welcome to Miniatures Rundown Necromundown. This week we're talking about Escher, the House of Blades, aka everyone's favorite all-women gang in the Underhive. So, very brief lore. The Escher are one of the oldest gangs of Necromunda, and both in lore and in the game itself. They predate almost everyone else. Historically enemies of Goliath. Their lore is that they are an all-women gang. Their men folk are born weak and spindly and then basically die before doing anything. So they're all ladies. They also are in charge of chemical production on Necromunda, both industrial chems and also the kind you put in yourself, and also lasgun production specifically, which we'll get to.
I don't want to rant about it.
This upsets the Mitchell.
It's fine.
So overall overview, Warhammer 40,000 foot view. How do you describe House Escher?
They are fast. We already mentioned toxic. And we already mentioned agile.
Yes.
They do backflips and front flips and
Side flips and somersaults and cartwheels.
If Goliath is the pure muscle, they are the dodging in to hit you or to not get hit.
Yes.
They have, in that vein, they have the best initiative in the game, basically across the board. The worst in their faction 3. And they have the most toxic and gas weapons in anything.
So I guess let's talk about those three things first, just because this is going to come up a lot during the video.
Yes.
And it's good to have context. Initiative. Initiative is a single D6 stat. It's the I, not intelligence. It's initiative. Escher, their champions are rocking 2-up initiatives.
Champion leader, both 2-ups.
The things initiative allows you to do. Initiative is what you roll to get out of combat or being able to get out of combat. Being able to retreat is an initiative roll. Not falling off a ledge when you get shot is an initiative roll.
Right.
If you are on a mount and you are knocked off that mount, getting back up is an initiative roll.
And not getting knocked off the mount is also an initiative roll.
Yes.
So they are good at some of that stuff.
Getting hit by a photon flash grenade and not losing your turn is an initiative roll.
Because they close their eyes super fast, I guess.
They dodge the light. I don't know.
That makes more sense.
If an opponent tries to escape from you and you want to make reaction attacks, that's an initiative roll.
Yeah.
And there's some other things that key off this as well. So basically, they have a lot of control over their movement in a way. And their house skill leans into that. Now, toxic and gas. They are not the only faction that has access to toxic and gas, but they have the best access, and they're the only faction who can make it betterer.
Their whole shtick, as we'll get into later, is their toxic and gas customization.
Yes, and lore-wise, Escher makes the chems that makes House Goliath bulky. So Goliath needs them. Escher also makes the anti-radiation drugs for Vansar. So Vansar needs them. So these houses, even though they're all fighting each other, they also need each other.
Makes sense.
We need each other, you and me. Yeah, Batman reference. Sorry, the Joker 2 is coming out, so it's relevant again, or something.
Sure.
I don't know. Now, toxic and gas. The important thing about those keywords, they're keywords. Toxic weapons do not have a strength. Instead, when you damage somebody with a toxin weapon, after you get the hit through, you roll a d6. If it is equal to or greater than their toughness, you immediately roll an injury dice.
Yep. Well,
they get an armor save.
That is where toxic and gas are separate.
Yes, because they both work the same, except gas ignores armor saves, and toxic does not ignore armor saves.
Yeah.
It gets a little confusing, but this is why toxic weapons have AP on them.
Yes.
And it also doesn't say that in the toxic description. It's just that toxic doesn't tell you ignores armor saves. Gas tells you it ignores armor saves.
Right.
This is why they're different. The other difference between them is that toxic weapons are usually injected weapons, like little darts or knives, and gas is usually like a gas thrower or a grenade.
Yeah.
But the really important thing is they ignore the number of wounds.
Yes, they ignore the number of wounds. One of them ignores armor. You can make the toughness matter less.
Yes.
So against the tougher gangs, that can be difficult for your toxic and gas, but there's definitely ways to get around that. We will talk about that later.
At base, a toxic weapon is essentially equivalent to a strength 4 weapon.
Right.
Before anything else. A gas weapon is essentially equivalent to a strength 4 weapon that ignores armor.
which is pretty strong.
The downside is that while they ignore the number of wounds, they also will never do more than 1 injury dice.
Right.
So you're not stacking these. It doesn't matter how many toxic weapons I hit you with. If I hit you with it, you just roll an injury dice. That's it. Which is great for ignoring the 3 wounds in an ambot.
Yeah.
Yes, ambots can get poisoned. No, we don't know how.
There's meat in there somewhere.
Don't think about it too hard. So it's kind of a pros and cons thing.
Yeah.
They have better access to toxic weapons, more synergies with them, and a way to increase them via their house skill.
It should also be noted that one of the other downsides of gas, while ignoring armor, it doesn't pin if it's a ranged weapon.
Right.
So your chem thrower or your gas grenades aren't going to pin if they don't do anything else. So
Right.
That is one of the downsides.
Other things to note about Escher. Their stats, we say they're fast, but their stats are not actually faster.
Right.
They're not rocking 6-inch movement. Even their little sister only has 5.
Yeah.
When we say that they're fast, it's because they have more ways to control their movement via their skills and shenanigans. So they're quick. Their stats are very generalist overall. Their champions have 3s and 3s, so they can be built for both melee or
Right.
ranged. Their leader is a 3s and 3s. Their mental stats are like solid 7s across the board.
Yeah, I did notice that all of their stats are always the same. Like intelligence, leadership, cool, same across the board.
Yep. Yeah, and they're all generally average.
Yeah, pretty
So they're not nearly as cool as either of the gangs we've talked about so far.
Right.
Goliath or Van Sar both whip them in coolness and intelligence.
I would say that Escher's cooler than Van Sar.
I mean, cool stat.
I know.
I don't know. It's pick your poison.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Escher doesn't have a lot of damage mitigation skill.
Right.
They have a fair amount of damage avoidance skill and engagement dictation skill. They rely on choosing when they want to hit, not getting hit, and not surviving hits.
Yeah.
Overall. So let's talk about their house-specific skill,
Okay.
because that's going to dictate a lot of what we talk about. Finesse.
I think finesse is the best house-specific skill that we've looked at so far. The whole, like, in a row. Van Sar.
Van Sar's awful.
Van Sar's awful. I think this is better than Goliath.
Yeah, I think overall there's more winners here. There's almost no bad ones in here.
I agree, which is great.
Finesse is great. Death Maidens have it as their primary. I think that's it, unfortunately.
Yeah, as a primary. Yeah, it's usually the secondary champion that can take it as their primary, and then the other ones, champion and leader, get it as a secondary.
Finesse overall is focused on movement and dictating your melee engagement.
Right.
Every skill in here is at least good, and that is
Yeah.
the only skill tree we've talked about so far where that's true.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
Goliath had a couple stinkers. Van Sar was 5 out of 6 stinkers and
Yeah.
1 mediocre.
And one fine if you do it right.
So let's go down the list, I guess.
Yeah.
Combat Virtuoso. This one, for certain weapons, namely the fighting knives, chain swords, power knives, power swords, stiletto knives, and stiletto swords.
Knives and swords.
Knives and swords. So not venom claws, not
Yes.
your thunder hammer. But for those knives and swords, it adds versatile, meaning you can attack at range, equal to the model's strength.
That's stupid.
It's amazing.
It's real dumb and real good.
Your Death Maiden, who starts with this skill set, starts with 3 strength,
Yeah.
which is, not fantastic, but plus 3 inches to your melee range is... A melee weapon with 3-inch versatile is fantastic.
Yeah, there's like 4 in the game.
And sure, none of these are multi-damage weapons, but power
True.
swords are great.
Power swords are great. Chain swords are honestly a good choice.
Still,
And then for your poison, stiletto swords are pretty
Stiletto sword is essentially a sword that has poison. It's got AP 1,
Yep.
1 damage, but toxin.
Yep.
And Death Maidens, like we'll talk about, have a special synergy with toxin.
Right.
So Combat Virtuoso is really good.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that one. Obviously melee only,
good. Yes, melee only.
but it means, like we talked about, because this is what Escher do, they get in and they fight in a way their opponent cannot fight back.
Right.
They don't win flat fights. Like if they charge a Goliath and the Goliath survives that hit and punches you, you die.
Yeah, probably.
But in this case, the Goliath doesn't get to punch you.
Yep.
Now, do be warned that Combat Virtuoso means you're not actually in engagement range with them, which means that you're not stopping them from shooting you in the face if you mess up.
So beware of Vansar. Just get
Always.
in the melee anyway.
Yeah, no. Vansar, don't use the Virtuoso. Just get up into them.
Yeah.
But it makes your charge range about 3 inches longer.
It does, which is always awesome.
Stupid.
Next up is Acrobatic, which is you can jump over enemy fighters while moving or charging, which, while not as generally useful, it can prevent people like Kador or Chaos Cults that have like little guys in the way from blocking their big guys. You can charge right over top of that Juve, hit their champion in the face.
Acrobatic is probably the weakest, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
Because Acrobatic is still really good.
It is still really strong.
Hit and Run is also really strong.
Yeah.
After you charge, and remember they updated this rule. When you charge now, you must fight.
Yes.
That was not previously a rule, you must. So after you do that fight with your charge, before your enemy gets to make a reaction attack, you get to back up. You get a free retreat action.
So basically what this is you have a 2-up initiative, so you're, 80-something% chance you're going to back out. And your opponent might hit you once.
Maybe.
Wow.
This is insurance against charging someone and not getting the kill.
Yeah.
Which is the only downside with it, because I would prefer to pick a skill that would help me get the kill.
Yeah.
But this does allow you to charge a, Ambot, do 2 wounds of damage, and then moonwalk out before it gets to smack you back. And remember, they have to pass the initiative to get the reaction shot. So something like an Ambot with a 5-up initiative, not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's uncounterable.
Yeah.
Like, you can't stop this.
Yep. There's no test other than the initiative, which again is a 2-up. It's amazing.
So is Lightning Reflexes.
Very, very similar to the last skill. So it is a very defensive version. It's when an opponent charges you before they fight, you can make an initiative test to back out.
Before they fight.
So you get charged by Corpse Grinder Cult, and you're just like,
do. By the way, specifically calls out it does not take your action.
oh, no.
It does not take your activation token. And it only works once per round, though.
Yeah, that is the downside.
So your champion can't get charged by a whole bunch of, corpse grinders and continually moonwalk away.
That would be very funny, though. Can we house rule that?
No.
So, yeah, both of these are great. And one is, again, a little more offensive. It's going to put you in a better position if you fail to kill them. And this one is going to be, basically, you can charge and kill something. And then once you get charged, you can just back out.
You'll notice all of these are defensive.
Yes.
None of these actually make your job easier at killing. Combat Virtuoso, arguably,
Because just increase
by virtue of increasing your charge range.
Yeah.
But even then, it's more about staying out of combat to prevent retaliation.
Right.
Last one is Somersault, which is the least exciting at first glance and probably the most broken.
I don't know. Combat Virtuoso is really good.
So Somersault is a free action.
No, it is
No,
not.
not a free action. It's a instead of your movement, it's a 6-inch teleport to a spot you can see.
Yes.
Now, first off, remember that your gangers and fighters only have 5-inch movement. So this is just a flat increase to movement. But it's a 6-inch teleport to a spot you can see. So that can be up, down, left, right.
Yep.
It can be over people and around people. The really big one is it does not trigger any movement-based effects, including unwieldy weapons. And that's not us house ruling or saying that. It calls that out in the description.
Yep.
Which means Somersault can save you suspensors. It's flat better than suspensors.
No. The only thing that I can think of is if you are pinned, you have to stand up and shoot.
Yes.
But being able to move 6 inches, ignoring everything, ignoring basically everything but line of sight, and getting to shoot, super strong.
Triggering movement-based effects, by the way, also specifically means that you can't overwatch it.
Yep. Can't Overwatch. Can't do the...
Well, I think, because Overwatch just says an action. That's an
not
interesting one.
movement-based.
That's not movement-based.
So what's the one in Palanites? where it's-
Got your 6.
Yeah, got your 6. It ignores that.
Yep.
And it ignores stuff like bombs exploding, because when you get too close, that triggers movement. Doesn't happen.
Nope, you can just somersault.
Yep.
You could make an argument this is also the weakest one because you could just buy suspensors for 60 credits.
I think this is more versatile than suspensors.
It is.
So it is. It's a side grade to suspensors for that.
Either way, it's really good.
It's really strong.
All of these skills are really good. So that's their skills. Their house mechanic is chem alchemy. Basically, what if toxin and gas, but better?
I love that it's chem alchemy, even though alchemy already has chem in the word.
Oh my god.
Alchemy.
You just ruined this for me.
Good.
No, Alcremie is the Pokemon. So, Chem Alchemy. It's their house skill. After a battle, you can make a trading post action to basically buy chem improvements. And there's 3 categories. They're only available to Escher. There's toxic ammo, stims, and gas ammo. Stims are things you put on yourself. Toxic ammo applies to toxin weapons. And gas ammo applies to gas weapons. Here's the fun thing. You can mix and match.
This is the coolest part about Escher, in my opinion.
It's a bit like the Goliath gene forging, where you can mix and match things and it costs money. Except you can do it at any time. Here's the downsides. Number 1, it is incredibly expensive to do this.
Yes, and the reason it is so expensive is because all of these are only one battle.
Right.
So after every single fight, if you want it again or you want something else, you got to pay for it again.
So stims, it's a range of self-buffing effects. Everything from healing a flesh wound, recovering with serious injury, a +2 movement, a d6 charge. You could combine these for a +2 movement and a d6 charge in one activation. The problem is you get that stim exactly once. You use it, it's removed from your card. You got to buy it again. And that's going to add up fast. The toxic ammo, some of my favorite, includes things like hitting someone and making them broken, hitting someone and giving them the webbed condition.
That one's very fun.
Hitting someone and then when they die, they explode with a 3-inch gas attack. Giving reckless to their attacks. One of the top ones is one of the easy ones is concentrated, which is for the very first roll for a toxin weapon, it adds +2 to that strength roll.
Right.
So which means if I hit you with a strength, you're a toughness 4 Goliath, and I hit you with a toxin weapon, it's got concentrated. For the very first time I hit you with that gun, I only need to roll 2.
Yep.
To wound you. And it goes. You have to go through armor. But needle rifle has -2 AP.
Yep.
Which is really good. So that basically assures your first hit if you hit, and it only works if it only uses the chem if you hit. By the way, if you miss the shot, for some reason it doesn't eat your chem.
We went over the logistics of like how that would work, and we're not gonna worry about it.
Yeah. It's a smart needle. And then gas ammo is for gas weapons. There's only a couple of those.
Yeah.
There's the gas grenade and also the nightshade chem thrower. Remember, gas ignores armor.
Yes.
The best one is probably Lifton, which the way Lifton works, and it's Lifton, Liftin'.
Yeah.
Normally, gas is a template weapon, like a flamer template. You put it down at your character and you hit him with a template. This one allows you to put that template 6 inches away. You still have to face it directly away from you.
Yeah.
But it adds 6 inches to the range of your gas weapon.
Which is the downside of a template weapon is you have to put it in base contact. It's only like, what, 7 inches?
Yeah, it's about 7.5 inches or something.
So,
like that.
the best you could do is move and shoot it. Maybe double move if you have shooting, which nobody in Escher does. But, dear God, being able to go and go here and
yes, 13-inch range flamethrower.
Oh, so good.
There's one called Blackout that every time a serious injury on the dice is rolled, which is every time you get that wound through, turns it into a knockout.
Yep. So it turns it from a 1 out of 6 into a half, 50-50.
Yep.
So good.
It does only make it an out cold on the table, which
Sure.
is fine. There's one that's I think it's pyrophoric. It turns your gas. It gives it blaze, making it a gas flamer, which is probably overkill.
Yeah, a little bit.
But if you do hit something and fail to wound it, by God, it's probably on fire. The issue, and that's just some of them I mentioned.
Yeah.
There's one that's like hallucinogenic gas.
Yes.
There's things that make people explode. There's things that make people degrade.
Yeah. There's some crazy ones in both toxic and gas.
And you can combine them.
Yeah.
The problem is it's really expensive. We're talking, the cheapest is 10. They range from 10 to 30 credits a pop.
Yep.
And you get them for one battle.
And if you mix and match, they get really expensive.
Right. Because of that, there is a hanger-on, which we'll mention now, but we'll talk about it more, called the Apprentice Clan Chemist, that reduces the cost of each of those chems by d6 times 10.
Yep.
That Clan Chemist is 75 credits and borderline mandatory for using these chems, I think.
If you're taking advantage of the house mechanic at all, you should have it.
Yes. Generally, because of that, and in combination with the toxic weapons being a little expensive, this is something you start using about, a little bit later in the campaign.
Yeah.
Not at the end, But this is not something you do at campaign creation because it's very expensive and you should be using those credits to make sure your gang doesn't suck. But once you have some nice toxic weapons on folks, feel free to spend something to just make your needle rifle,
Yeah.
to hit a wound a toughness 5 ogre on a 3.
Or better.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about.
All right, let's talk about the models and stats.
All right. First, and obviously the most important, we have our queen, Beyonce.
Taylor Swift.
She's 125 credits. Movement 5, again, average. Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 3, all average. 2 wounds, 2 up initiative, and 3 melee attacks. Which, in my opinion, leans her more towards a melee.
Yeah.
5 up leadership, 5 up cool, 6 up willpower, and 7 up intelligence.
Very average stats for a leader.
Yeah.
So she's got 3 up weapon skill, 3 up ballistic skill, so you can build her either way.
Yeah.
But she's got 3 attacks.
She has 3 melee attacks.
It really does feel like you should have some kind of melee weapon on your gang leader.
I agree.
But you could also just keep her as a heavy weapons dealer, and it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Sure.
I generally like to run mine with like a good melee weapon and a good ranged weapon once I have the credits.
Yeah, I think the leader in particular should have both.
Access to lots of great weapons. Basically all your heavies, etc., can buy everything. No other special rules.
She has a huge list of stuff to use.
Yes. So next up is your gang matriarch. This is your primary champion. She's 100 credits. Movement 5. Same stats as the queen, except she only has 2 attacks and 6s across the board.
Strangely enough, better willpower and intelligence than the leader?
Better intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Same willpower.
Which does matter for later.
Yes. So same thing as the queen. She can kind of be built for melee or ranged.
Yep.
There is definitely a universe where you can build Escher as an all melee gang. However, they have access to very good shooting weapons.
Yeah.
So you probably don't want to do that.
And like we said with the queen, having the extra melee attack really leans her towards melee, so you want to put it on her. I could understand just having a heavy weapon on her.
This is your heavy weapons champion.
Yeah.
I like to put a needle rifle on one.
Yeah.
Because needle rifles are very cheap. It's a special weapon, but they benefit from that good ballistic skill of the needle rifle.
True.
Meaning they can put it to good use. And then we get your first special, folks.
The Death Maiden.
Yeah.
So she's 115 credits.
So 15 more than a normal champ.
Movement 6, so faster. Weapon skill 2, so better. Ballistic skill 3 is the same.
Still not bad.
Still not bad. Strength 3, normal. Toughness 4, 2 wounds, 2 up initiative, and 3 melee attack. She is the melee one.
8 leadership, not meant to lead.
Not great.
4 cool, though. And then 7 up willpower and intelligence.
So she's going to stick around, but she might not open a door very well.
So something interesting is that she can't lead group activations.
Yes.
But she also has a rule called Poison Blood, which is toxin weapons, only toxin, not gas, can reroll 1s for that wound before any modifiers.
Yes.
So she's specifically better with toxic weapons.
Being faster and tougher and better weapon skill and more melee attacks.
This is your melee champ.
Yeah, she's going to blend stuff.
It's also considered one of the better melee champs in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
She can also only take pistols in close combat, so no putting a heavy, plasma cannon on your maiden or something like that.
Dang.
No trying to put like stuff on her for the 4-up toughness and going, hey, it's my toughness. No. She is your melee champ. Very, very, very good. Pricey.
Yeah.
But usually worth it. And then your base sister. Sister is 50 credits and is probably your standard template ganger in the entire game.
Basically.
5-inch movement, 4-up ballistic and weapon skill, 3 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative.
Which is only the slightly above average.
Right. 1 attack, 7s across the board. Can take pistols, basics, and close combat weapons. You can get 1 specialist who can take a specialist weapon. You probably want to give her either a grenade launcher or a chem thrower.
Yes, just because the 4-up BS is kind of bad. You could do the needle rifle just because it's cheap.
And the needle rifle does have great accuracy at close range.
Yeah, which is, I think, 9?
9 inches. I've seen people do the needle rifle. It feels like it depends on how budget you're going.
Yeah.
Cheapest option is needle rifle. Grenade launcher, which is 65 credits, it comes with frag and crack, is good. You can get it photon later. And then Nightshade Chem Thrower, which is 135 credits, is your expensive option.
Right.
Essentially gives her a chem flamer. The sister is your standard template for gangers in the entire game.
Yeah.
So she's kind of good.
Yeah. Not terrible. Not great. 50 credits. I'll take it.
Yeah, she's fine. And then we go to something not fine.
The Wild Runner, which is the Juve prospect. She's 45 credits, so only 5 credits less than a regular ganger. Movement 6, a little bit faster. Weapon skill and bliss skill still 4. Strength 2 for some reason. Toughness 3, 1 wound, 3 up initiative, and 1 attack. 9 intelligence, willpower, and leadership, and 7 cool.
So basically, they get 4 weapon skill and ballistic skill in exchange for having 2 strength.
Yes.
They have the usual juvie stuff of gang fighter, hot-headed, fast learner.
Yep.
They can also, here's the interesting thing. Unlike a lot of gangs where the prospect can be upgraded into the specialist champion, that's not true in this case. There's a different way you get specialist champions.
Which is kind of
cool. The Wild Runner can only be upgraded into the matriarch. Now, the thing about the Wild Runner is what they have access to.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit about it now. They're the only people who have access to the Wild Bow and the pets, which I can never remember the name of. The phalanx. It's supposed to be phalanx. It's phalanx or whatever.
Yeah.
They're little cat things. Basically, the idea, and the Wild Runner can also get a whip.
Yeah.
The idea behind the Wild Runner is you take one of them with either the bow or a whip, you put them behind cats, which give them extra bodies, and you use them to attack with versatile weapons from behind the cats. The problem with that is that they have bad attacks, bad strength. They're not cheaper than normal ganger, and once you start putting the cats on, things get really expensive really fast.
Yeah.
For someone who's not very good.
Yep.
They're not unusable, but they're one of the weaker prospects.
I agree.
Goliath and Escher have the 2 weaker prospects, in my opinion, probably because they came out first.
We did have some people defending the Goliath one in the comments.
And I think the Goliath one is actually probably more usable than the prospects.
I agree.
But that being said, taking a prospect and putting the frag bow on her is really funny.
Yes, we will talk about the bow in more detail later. It ranges from god-awful to that's really cool.
That's really cool, yeah. Speaking of god-awful, the last member is the little sister.
Hey, she's not god-awful, and the reason she's not god-awful is she has a 4-up weapon skill. She's only 20 points.
Yes, yeah. The little sister is awful, but she's one of the cheaper juvies at only 20 credits.
Yeah. Only rivaling Kador, I believe.
Yes. She's only 5-inch movement, so unlike a lot of juvies, she's not faster.
Right.
But she's got weapon skill 4 instead of 5. Ballistic skill 5. Strength 3, toughness 3, weapon 1 wound, 3 up initiative, 1 attack, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Can be promoted into a specialist.
So she can only take pistol and close combat weapons, so really, really cheap.
Yeah.
And that's how you should keep her.
Yes. The big thing about Little Sisters is that if you're using the stiletto knives on her, the stiletto knife does not key off your strength because it has a strength of 0. So it's just as effective to put a stiletto knife on her as it is on a ganger.
True.
So you use them as cheap objective grabbers, probably give them a pistol and a knife.
Yeah.
They're not like, they're cheap and cheerful. You use them to buff up your bodies.
Yep.
Later in the campaign, you give them grenades and have them throw incendiary charges because that's really funny. Now, as far as the skill access for these guys, the Queen has leadership, combat, which is a little more of a skill tree based on doing damage.
Yes.
And agility, which is a great skill tree based on avoiding it. The matriarch has agility in combat as well. The Death Maiden has agility and finesse.
Yes.
So agility is an interesting skill tree because it has one really, really, really good skill.
Yep.
Called dodge, which is essentially a preemptive feel no pain.
Yes. And unlike some of the other ones, it works multiple times.
Yes.
And it is kind of sort of a invuln save.
Yeah. Agility has 2 really great skills.
Yeah.
Spring up, which allows you to stand up from being pinned on an initiative check. Remember, you've got 2 or 3 up initiative.
Yep.
So if you have a heavy weapons wielder or somebody who just needs to get into combat, putting spring up on them is amazing.
Yeah. Death Maiden with spring up
is really hard
terrifying.
to keep down because if you pin them, they just can get up for free and then come punch you in the face anyway. And then agility also has dodge.
So spring up is like the oh god, what's the Goliath
Nerves
one?
of Steel?
Nerves of Steel. That it's Goliath takes Nerves of Steel. These guys take spring up.
Arguably better because Nerves of Steel doesn't protect you after you take the hit.
That's true.
Like you can get hit and you're still standing. This one, you get hit, you're pinned, they can't shoot you anymore, then you get up and punch them in the face.
Yeah.
Brutes, pets, and vehicles. So, brutes. Or rather, brute. The Chimerex. It's Chimera and X. For 220 credits, you get a brute that is 6-inch movement, 4s and 4s to hit.
4s is kind of bad.
4 strength, 5 toughness, 3 wounds, 3 up agility. 3 of initiative, sorry. 3 attacks, and then bad mental stats. A Chemeric starts with a chemical cloud weapon and talons. So the talons are user strength, so strength 4, which is not bad. 1 AP, 2 damage with pulverize.
I mean, a 2 damage weapon to start out with is not terrible.
No, it's not. The breath weapon is a 6 to 12 inch blast weapon that is basically a frag grenade with 1 AP.
And +1 to hit at short range.
Yeah, which is not bad, but now the short range is 6 inches.
Yeah, I know.
That's for 220 credits. The rules it gets you as a simple action. That's a big thing. Unless you're on fire, you get to heal a wound on a 4-up.
Yeah.
So you have to spend an action to get a 50% chance of healing.
Which is pretty not good.
It's not great. It can save you, but it's not great.
Yeah.
They can also, this is really bad. During each attack sequence, you can nominate 1 dice to get +1 strength and damage.
That's not the worst.
I hate that mechanic, though, because it's like, this dice is better. That's the dice that rolls a 1.
Oh, I mean, yeah, 100%.
Now, you want to put a bunch of money into it, you can get some upgrades.
Yeah.
You can upgrade the, let me see. Well, you can give it flak armor for 10 credits.
At least it's the amount of flak armor.
Yeah, which you'll need, because a
Yeah.
5-up armor is, 6-up armor is better than nothing.
Yeah.
You can increase the chemical cloud breath weapon with a gaseous eruption breath weapon.
Which is, rather than a 12-inch range, it is a template with gas.
It's a gas template.
That's it.
Unfortunately, you can't give the brute any of those nifty gas chems.
Yeah, because they can't have any
so-
equipment.
It's not bad. The problem is that thing costs, 80 credits?
80 That's not.
80
don't do
credits.
that.
No, that's the problem. Like,
Not on top of 220, that's too much.
that's the problem. And you can upgrade the talons to razor sharp talons for 30 credits. That gives them +1 strength, +1 AP, and up to 3 damage with rending.
That one you should do.
That one you should do because it
one's
makes
really
him a
strong.
melee monster. Strength 5 attacks, AP 2, 3 damage. That's scary.
I mean, with only a 4-up weapon skill, that does kind of still iffy.
Yes, and there's no bonus to hit either.
Nope.
So that's kind of not great.
Yeah.
It's not a melee monster. It's not a stimmer.
No, it's not a stimmer.
Or sorry, a berserker
Yeah.
is the Goliath one.
It's neither.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not a melee monster, and that regeneration mechanic you can tell is old because it's not very good.
Yeah.
There's things in the game now that have way better regeneration mechanics.
Like, what's it? Walk it off?
Yeah.
You move twice to heal a wound.
Yeah.
That's all it had to be.
Well, I mean, if they had come out with it now, it probably would be.
Yeah.
But they didn't come out with it now. So I recommend avoiding. It's hard to justify this guy over an Ambot.
Yeah.
It doesn't super lean into what Escher do.
Yeah, it kind of tries to be a full-on bruiser, and it's not great at it.
Also, that model sucks.
Yeah.
It's a bear to put together.
Oh yeah, you put one
And
together.
I've had put one together. It's not great to put together. It hasn't aged well. It's Forge World. Avoid.
Why?
Pets. You have the Fear Cat, spelled with a PHYRR. Because
Yeah, just wrong in every sense.
wow, that was completely wrong. 120 credits. The Fear Cat is interesting. It's an exotic beast, so any of your leaders or champions can get one. 7-inch movement, 3-up weapon skill, no melee attack. Strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 2-up initiative, 2 attacks, bad mental stats. It's got the sharp talons, same as the Chimerics, which means it's only strength 3, AP 1, 2 damage. Because it's not the
Yes.
razor sharp talons.
Yeah, you're right.
The interesting thing about the Fear Cat is that it's a 7-inch movement monster, so it's faster than your normal leader, and it has, instead of the normal 3-inch range of the leash for exotic beasts, it's 9-inch range. So it has a little more independence because it's a cat.
Yeah.
Now, if it ate you when you died, it would definitely be a cat, but we'd save that for the Sun Beast. It also gets -2 strength to any falling damage because cat.
Yeah, because it's a cat, and that's all that matters.
It's 120 credits.
It's expensive, but it's basically an extra melee-only champion?
A strength 3, 2 strength 3 attacks at 1 AP, 2 damage is not fantastic, but if it gets through, that hurts.
Yes.
That hurts a lot.
The downside being it has no armor.
Right,
It
none
is
at all.
toughness 3, 1 wound, no armor.
Yep.
It's gonna die.
Yep, it's going to get punched in the face, and then
For 120 credits, that is too expensive for something so squishy.
it's not the cyber arachnid.
It's not.
No.
If it had dodge built in,
Yeah, unfortunately not. The Phalanx, which is the cat for wild runners, is basically just a downgraded Fear Cat.
yeah.
6-inch movement, 4-up weapon skill, 3s and 3s, 3-up initiative, 2 attacks, terrible mental stats. It only has unarmed attacks, and all of its attacks have reckless.
Yep.
A 6 to hit grants the toxin thing, which is basically what you're fishing for.
So you need to roll a 6 to hit in order to roll against their toughness in order to roll an injury dice.
Which is better than the unarmed attack they're doing normally.
That's true.
These things are for board control, not damage.
Yeah, at least they're only 50 credits.
But the problem is that a prospect is 45.
That's true.
This thing is more expensive than the prospect it comes on. It's for board control, but it's still a late campaign thing because you could be putting those 50 credits into making your actual gangers not suck.
Yeah.
And for 50 credits, you could just buy an actual ganger.
True.
That's my problem with it.
Yeah. None of these options are great.
No, they're not.
They're either too expensive or bad and too expensive.
Yep. Well, let's go to something a little more fun, which is the only vehicle.
Yeah.
They don't have a vehicle. They do have a crew, though.
They do have a crew, which we can talk about now because it's...
The crew is like kind of like their gangers, completely average across the board.
Yep.
Also gets a Medicaid kit that it cannot use.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
The Medicaid kit lets you reroll serious injuries, but crew can never do that.
Yeah, crew can't be seriously injured, so it's fine. Anyway, so the cutter, in my opinion, is one of the best...
What is the cutter?
The thing I'm about to talk about.
Okay.
It is a mount, and it is 85 credits, but that's deceiving.
35 credits more than a bike.
Yes. So the Waster's bike is just worse than this thing, in my opinion.
Well, it's also 35 credits cheaper.
I know. It has a 9-inch movement, the ability called High Flight, which says it basically ignores everything while it moves, and it must be equipped with one of 3 weapons: the Twin Link Grenade Launcher,
Frag and crack.
Frag and Crack Grenades for 75 credits.
It's your cheap option.
Yep. Twin Link Plasma Gun for 110 credits, which is
The one you're going to take.
expensive but good. And a Twin Linked Heavy Stubber for 200 credits, which you will never take ever.
No.
I don't understand. They had to have put an extra 0 on that. That should be 20 credits because a Heavy Stubber by itself is pretty bad. And then they...
How much is a heavy stubber?
140.
Yeah. So, what's the problem with the heavy stubber and ash waste? This is a mount, by the way. So you can only take an ash waste.
Only take an Ash Waste. It has -1 at long range.
Which in the ash waste you will almost always
You have
get.
like an 80% chance of getting -1 to hit.
So for 60 credits more, but it's twin linked. What does that get you?
It lets you re-roll your ammo dice, your firepower dice when you shoot. Now, to be fair, it is rapid fire 2,
Yep.
so you get to re-roll both if
So
you
you can
want.
reroll both and do an ammo check and just jam the damn thing.
So it prevents you from rolling an ammo check to jam. Now, think about a plasma gun.
I was about to say, you know what's really good on rerolling ammo firepower dice on? A plasma gun.
Overcharged plasma gun.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
For 90 less credits.
Uh-huh.
That's so bad.
It's so bad. I don't understand that. But the cutter itself. So for 35 credits more base,
Yes.
you get +1 movement and fly.
But
Which is
because-
really good.
Yeah, it's insane. But it is a minimum of 160 credits.
Yes, because you have to put at least a grenade launcher. Which, by the way, is still pretty good.
It's still good.
Like, a twin-linked crack grenade launcher is not bad at all.
No.
Or a blast frag launcher. If you want to upgrade the extra, 35 credits for a twin-linked plasma gun, I think that's a fair upgrade from a grenade launcher.
I agree.
Because grenade launcher is really good. That's also, by the way, the gap between the normal plasma and grenade launcher.
Yes.
Grenade launcher is 65 credits. Plasma gun's 100. It's 35
go.
credits more. And then it should only be 40 credits more for a heavy stubber. But no, they just... Let's go rapid fire 2. I don't care.
If you made the heavy stubber cheaper than the plasma gun, I still wouldn't take it.
No, I wouldn't. Not in the ash waste.
So bad. The last thing it has is basically a special action called the gas trap launcher. It's a double action, but what it does is it lets you drop a gas trap, and then you get to move your full movement, so 9 inches.
Yep.
So it's a double action. I don't know why it's not just like a basic action.
And just let you move.
Yeah.
I guess just to stop you from laying a trap and then accidentally staying on it and blowing yourself the heck up.
It's the idiot-proof switch.
But someone installed that on the Escher cutter.
It's not terrible. Does that cost any more credits? It's just a thing they can
No, that's
do.
a thing they can do.
That's pretty good. I'll take that.
It's an expensive upgrade.
Yeah.
You'd probably only want to... Here's the thing, though. what's interesting is you wouldn't necessarily want to put this on your champions,
Yeah.
because your champions probably already have good weapons.
Yes.
So you probably want to put this thing on your non-champions, so your non-champions can have a flippin' plasma gun.
That's true. Because, I mean...
Can your non-champions even take this thing?
I think so.
Yeah,
It's just a mount.
It's just a mount.
I don't see why not.
It's a lot of extra credits over a dirt bike for something a lot better.
Yeah. I'm just jealous. I wish I had it.
It is fun. It is also really cool.
Yeah, it's
like
really cool.
flying hover bikes. The last thing to know is that on their crew list, they have some of the toxin weapons.
Sure.
Most of which you'll never use.
Yeah.
Putting the chem thrower on something might be funny.
It does.
Just remember that gas and toxin has absolutely no effect on vehicles.
Yep.
It just bounces off.
So, yes, you can poison and gas a ambot. No, you can't poison or gas a vehicle.
Yeah.
Despite it having crew.
Nope, it doesn't work. Overall, Escher, I think, are pretty quick already. It's really expensive for the cutter, but it's really cool.
It's very expensive for the cutter. So, I would want to put this on, like, my melee leader.
Someone who needs to be able to get to melee and
Yes.
wants something backup to do in the ash waste.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's right.
I'm not going to put on my champion who already has a plasma gun.
Right.
But my Death Maiden, which
Death Maiden with this thing is so stupid.
for some reason you can put a Death Maiden on this thing.
Because their toughness is better, their initiative is ridiculous, so
Witness
they're going
me.
to stay standing. They can charge 9 inches plus movement, and they get a huge gun, which they can't normally have.
You can still fight off of this thing,
Yeah. Very dumb. I love it. It's very dumb.
but really expensive.
Really expensive. Again, minimum 160 credits.
Right. All right, hangers on. You get a couple. The Apprentice Clan Chemist is the one we already talked about.
Yeah.
It reduces the cost of each chem by d6 times 10 to a minimum of 10, which is still really good.
Yep.
Mandatory for any chem usage. If you have one and a champion or leader dies, there's a chance that champion or leader will become a new Death Maiden.
Because their whole thing is they're not reanimated corpses.
No, they're corpses who've been pumped so full of chems they're kind of reanimated. They're basically reanimated corpses.
That's kind of cool, though.
It is. The nice thing about the Apprentice Clan Chemist is that in addition to making your chems cheaper, they also come with the Fixer skill, which is D3 times 10 credits after every match.
Yeah.
So helps pay for herself.
Also
and
pays
makes
for
your
herself.
stuff cheaper.
Yep. This is great.
Bing, bang, boom. You probably want one of these.
Again, pretty much mandatory.
Her stats are awful. Don't put her in combat. She will die. Speaking of stats awful, don't put her in combat, is the Shiver, who's basically your mystical
Yeah.
magic ball reader. I don't know.
Yeah, because they're like you get to pick a person for them to like see their future, and they get a bonus.
The model
depending.
looks like something out of a racist movie that would refer to Africa as the Dark Continent.
Wow.
Have you seen that model?
Yes, but that was very specific.
That's just what I'm saying. It's like out of a 30s movie with Bela Lugosi.
It is for some reason more expensive than the
100 credits.
chemist.
Awful stats, although she does have fearsome.
Okay.
During the post-battle, you can use a post-battle action to roll 2d6 on a table. And they range from uh-oh to really good. You roll a 2, you get doom. So they just go into recovery.
Yep. They like pass out in their.
You roll a 12, you get fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory. During the post-battle sequence of the next battle, the fighter performing this visit may double the amount of experience they earn and may double amounts of credits and reputation their gang earns.
Which is nuts.
That's absolutely insane, but that's only on boxcars on a 2d6.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they range from kind of nice things. Free hired gun, free bounty hunter, extra d6 XP, reroll a single hit roll of 1. Yeah, basically as long as you roll above a 5 or above a 4, you're good. You get something. I don't think this is worth 100 credits, though.
I'm still gonna take one. I don't care. I like the randomness. I like the oh, I rolled boxcars, or I got my guys in recovery.
That's fair.
I'm still gonna do it.
There's other things that take over this.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. But she's thematic.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess is she? Because she's not kind of like reading the bones. That's not something I associate with Escher.
Nope, me either. I mean, they have the kind of tribal stuff in their hair.
I guess this leans into it hard.
Way too hard.
Yeah. The animal print skins.
Yeah.
There are no animals on Necromunda, meaning that she painted those.
There's fear cats.
I guess.
Skin the fear cats.
Unique equipment. So this isn't technically unique, but the Chem Synth, which is something you get for 15 credits, rarity 10, but it's on their house list.
Yeah, everybody gets it on their house list.
You pass a intelligence check as a free action to count your target as -1 toughness for gas or toxin weapons.
There's absolutely no downside.
Nope.
There's not like if you fail, you can't make an attack or anything. It's just
You do have to pass an intelligence check,
Which-
and your intelligence is middling.
the best intelligence in the faction is a 6-up on the regular champion. So that can be kind of rough.
But that's still better than a 50-50.
It's better than a 50-50. It's only 15 credits.
You might as well have one of these for anyone using a toxin or gas weapon. I say it's mandatory. Nightshade Chem Thrower is a flamer, but gas.
For 135 credits, which is expensive. Well, flamers are 140, aren't they?
Yes.
So it's actually cheaper than a flamer. But it doesn't pin, which is one of the things a flamer does very well.
It's also silent.
It is also silent.
At start,
It is silent, but deadly.
yeah, I mean, literally, it's a silent but deadly gas weapon. Her, fart jokes. 5-up ammo check. It's a template. It's better than a flamer.
Yeah.
Kind of. It doesn't pin and it doesn't have blaze, but it ignores armor and just ignores wounds.
It's not as much of a crowd controller as a flamer is.
No.
Because, like, a flamer could just walk up and go, like, I don't care if I wound you. You're pinned and you might be on fire.
But you're lethal.
But you're lethal.
And the Nightshade has a higher ceiling because you can chem it up.
Yeah.
You can increase the range by 6 inches and make it deal blackout to everybody and make him insane. And
If a flamer had the customization of this thing, I would take a flamer more often.
Flamer had a customization of this thing would be broken as crap. Speaking of crap,
Whoa.
the Wild Bow. Spelled with a Y, by the way, because
Of course it is. It can only be taken by the Wild Runner, which we've already said is very bad. But it is interesting. It's only 10 credits.
well, one of them is interesting.
One of them is interesting. All of them are short range 9, long range 18, with a -1 at long range.
So -1 out because it's a bow,
It's a bow.
and not even like a cool future composite bow. It's just a stick with a string. Knowing Necromunda, probably a rubber band.
It is.
They're silent. Well, except for one of them.
Yeah.
No, 2 of them, I guess.
It is strength 3, no AP, 1 damage, and a 4-up reload? Why
Yeah.
is it a 4-up reload? Did you break your string, man?
It's a rubber band.
It's a rubber band.
Yeah, there's a 4-up. There's a 50% chance that band snaps.
For 25 credits, you can make it toxic and scarce,
And a 6-up ammo check.
and a 6-up ammo check.
Still silent,
For 20 credits, you can make it explosive,
which gives it strength 2 instead of 3.
blast 3 inches,
Yep.
scarce, unstable.
But
But it's only strength 2, man.
it's a blast weapon,
It is a blast
and blast
weapon.
weapons are good.
Well,
I mean, so you've got a wild bow. Now, is that 20 credits in addition to the initial 10 for the bow?
I believe so.
So for 30 credits, you put that on your Wild Runner, who was also only 45 credits. So for 75 credits, you've got a miniature grenade launcher that's not very good and also might die.
With an 18-inch range and -1 to hit.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it's not very good, is
No,
it?
it's not. And the last one is this is my favorite one.
Yeah, I like this. I played Baldur's Gate. It's a Melf's Acid Arrow, right? Yeah.
It is an acid arrow, which is strength 3, still no AP, 6-up ammo, and blaze, and scarce for 20 credits. I don't know why it's blaze.
Well, acid, because it's setting them on fire.
No.
That's
not
what acid does, Mitchell. It sets people on
it
fire.
sets people on fire.
Wouldn't there be a better name for? Are you saying that there would be something else they could have called this?
You know what? I'm sure I can
No
think
one.
of something.
Are you suggesting they just light an arrow on fire? No one's ever done that.
No one's
That's
ever
not a
done
thing in anything.
The real fun thing is in Pitch Black. This is my favorite part. In Pitch Black, blaze, things that are on fire
Are revealed.
are revealed. So you shot acid at a guy in the dark, and he lights up.
You know what? It's glowing.
It's glowing acid.
To be fair, if anybody's gonna have acid that sets people on fire, it's House Escher.
That's true.
Like that does track. You know what? The acid arrow is also not silent, so I'm just assuming that is actually a burning acid arrow.
That's you know what? Maybe they just named it wrong. Maybe it's just not supposed to name
Look,
it
the
acid.
Wild Bow is bad.
The Wild Bow's bad.
It's another reason why Wild Runners are bad.
Yep.
Which is a shame because the Wild Runner aesthetic is amazing.
Yeah, the model's great. The Fear Cats, I think the Fear Cats look
They're cool.
And the bow looks great too. And all of it's bad.
Yep.
And you shouldn't take it.
But if you're going to take one for the aesthetic, I say you take explosive arrows.
Oh yeah.
Because it gives them
Unstable.
it like yeah you're not gonna hit much anyway, so you might as well have something that scatters.
Sure.
And it's only strength 2, but the other ones are only strength 3. That hardly matters.
Who matters? What does it matter if it's scarce when you're just going to blow up 50% of the time anyway and kill yourself?
Exactly. If you roll the ammo check, you have bigger problems.
This weapon is only 10 credits, and I think it should be cheaper.
This weapon should be built into the cost of the model.
Yeah, it should be.
The other option she can take, by the way, is a whip, which is way better, despite being bad.
Yeah, it's still bad.
Needle weapons. Needle weapons are not actually unique to Escher. Anybody can use a needle weapon. But needle weapons are toxic, so therefore Escher has special synergy with them.
Right.
They can make better needle weapons, the needle pistol, which is good for the Death Maiden, because it's cheap, accurate, and keys off of her reroll 1s. Reroll 1s in Necromunda is very rare.
Yes.
Being able to reroll 1 to wound, it's cheaper than a plasma pistol by a fair chunk. So, you know.
There are also some, most of the needle weapons, I believe, have chem delivery.
Well, sort of. There's like 1 or 2 that have chem delivery.
So it's basically, you can buy a whole range of chems with upsides and downsides that gives you, lets you get unstable but reroll and, all the stuff. Chem delivery lets you forcefully give it to your opponent.
Which is a very odd mechanic.
It is a really weird thing, but it's like, I like the fact that all of the chems have an upside and a downside, and they're like, here, how about you take the downside?
Yeah. The last one is the Venom Claw, which only the Death Maiden can get. It's a toxin weapon with 2 AP.
It's basically the stiletto knife, but plus 1 AP.
Yeah, and Entangle.
And Entangle, which is very good.
And only 30 credits.
I'm surprised it's only 30 credits.
It's so in exchange for the stiletto sword, the stiletto sword has less AP, but has parry.
Right. Both of which having something slightly defensive.
Venom Claw is a little more offensive.
Yeah.
Last but not least, let's talk about some of our example lists. So these are purely examples, and I don't think either of us built a list, which we've got one each, one from normal play and one for the Ash Wastes. When I built this list, I did not go for probably the best mechanical list.
Sure.
I went for something that was pretty good and thematic.
Yes.
So mine, this is a 1,000-point list. You have a queen with a power sword and a plasma pistol. So that is all, and mesh armor. She's 235 credits. And I gave her the Iron Will skill, which is one that gives you -1 to bottle checks. Your cool's not great in Escher.
Right. Other than the Death Maiden.
Yeah, other than the Death Maiden, your cool ain't great.
Yeah.
So I think giving her those things, she's 235 credits, so more than a fifth of your list, almost a quarter.
Yeah.
But that power sword and plasma pistol means from the get-go, this girl is a threat.
Yep. She will cut basically straight through any starting armor.
Yes, but the plasma pistol gives her some range.
Yes.
I could very easily see replacing the power sword and plasma pistol with just a plasma gun.
Yeah, I can see that.
And give her either spring up or dodge, and just have her be a ranged champion. She'd be about the same cost. I have one matriarch, your champion, who has only a needle rifle and mesh ammo, or mesh rubber. She's 150 credits. This is my budget champion. The needle rifle is only 35 credits.
Yeah.
It's cheap
Super cheap.
as heck. Is it as good as a plasma gun? No. But it has 2 AP and +2 to hit at short range.
Yes.
So you're hitting very well at short range, and you're using that toxin. This obviously it's a long-term commitment because you get a lot better once you get those chems off the ground. The reason I have her cheaper and not, again, you could just have a matriarch with a plasma gun. And matriarchs with plasma guns are terrifying.
Yeah.
Try one yourself. But much expensive. I made her cheap so I can do the next thing, which is a Death Maiden with a needle pistol and a stiletto sword. Now, this is obviously leaning very heavy into the toxic thing. She's also got mesh armor. 185 credits for that. So expensive. But needle pistol and stiletto sword means she is going to have those rerolls to wound. So even against Goliath, who you're wounding on 4s, you're rerolling 1s.
Yeah.
4s rerolling 1s is really good.
I think a Death Maiden should have toxic weapons. Like, at least one toxic weapon to take advantage of that.
Yep, but on the other hand, because of the way Necromunda works, not being balanced, you could give her better melee weapons.
You could.
A Death Maiden with a power sword is probably going to be better than a stiletto sword. It's more expensive, but it's going to be better because that sword still has parry and it has power and it's just better. This Death Maiden I gave Spring Up to. That's the one where she takes initiative tech, jumps back up. This means this Death Maiden is not going to be interfered by pinning.
Right.
Oh, they pinned you? Get back up and charge. I could very easily see replacing the needle pistol with something else. If you want to go for broke, a plasma pistol and power sword.
Yep.
If you want to go for more offensive and less reliable, give her Combat Virtuoso instead of Spring Up.
Yeah.
That makes her terrifying, but a friend of the show, Gage, who's playing Escher, they did that with theirs, and I annoyed the heck out of them by continually just pinning that Escher.
Yeah.
So they were kind of like, I have a sister specialist. Now, here's one where I made a really weird decision. I gave her a Nightshade Chemthrower. That meant my sister specialist is 185 credits.
And no armor.
Oh, no, sorry. It does have mesh. No, I don't have it on the list here, but I tweaked it to have mesh. That's 200 credits of stuff. That's also a long-term commitment.
It is.
But a gas weapon at start is like basically ruining your opponent's day as far as armor saves.
True.
If you wanted to budget, swap that Nightshade Chemthrower for a grenade launcher. In fact, I probably would actually.
Yeah.
It's just I went more theme, but a grenade launcher is literally half the cost.
Yeah.
And very, very good. You could also give her a needle rifle if you wanted.
Yeah.
And then I've got 3 sisters with las guns and nothing else.
I hate
Escher get 5 credit las guns, even cheaper than Van Sar. So good.
Van Sar should get the cheapest las gun. I don't care about the lore. Van Sar should get the cheapest las guns.
They get better las guns.
No, they don't.
They get the tech skill, which makes... Okay, I can't even finish that sentence, seriously. Yeah.
Throw my glasses across the room.
Escher gets cheapest las guns in the game. They get 5 credit las guns, which means you will never, ever take a pistol or an auto gun or anything else on your sisters.
Pistol I could see.
Okay, yeah. You'll never take a las pistol, really.
Yeah. You'll never take an auto gun.
No.
You would be hard-pressed to take anything else.
Las guns are cheap and cheerful already because they have +1 to hit at 18 inches. And 2 up and plentiful, so you'll never run out of ammo. Them being 5 credits makes them the single best special weapon or basic weapon for a ganger in the game.
Yep, agreed.
Try one at home.
Yeah,
I've got 3 of those gals.
Despite me being very upset about it, I also put 2 of them in my list.
Will they kill things? Not necessarily. Will they pin things? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then to round out the list, I've got one little sister with a stiletto knife and a stub gun for 45 credits. Like we talked about, that stiletto knife is good for stabby. And the other little sister, I kind of went back and forth on what I wanted to do with her. The other little sister, this is just to fill points. I gave her a just an auto pistol.
Yeah.
I'll give her a knife later. You could also, instead of the auto pistol, give her photon flash grenades. Which does, you've got 1 shot, make it count.
Yeah, exactly.
This list is, so totals to 995 credits. Some changes you can make very easily, taking away the Nightshade Chemthrower and giving that specialist a grenade launcher and then putting those extra credits into another sister with a las gun.
True.
Or replacing those little sisters with las guns is probably the better play.
Yeah.
I went kind of for fun here. But I really think that having your queen be versatile from the start and having a Death Maiden who is terrifying at the start and a Matriarch who can provide some support is a great way to go.
That's fair.
And that's for 1,000 credits inside list. Yours is a Ash Waste list.
Basically, from the word Ash Waste, I wanted to make my Escher a biker gang. So I have 8 models, and every single one of them has a Waster's dirt bike. 400 credits on the nose. That's all of my Ash Waste vehicle-only credits. Later, they'll be upgraded with cutters, but cutters are expensive to start.
Because mounts you can swap.
Equipment you can swap as long as it is better.
And I think it's agreeable to most people that a cutter is better than a
It is
dirt
better
bike.
in every single way,
Yes.
except for cost. So keep in mind, every single one of these are 50 credits over what they should be because they have vehicles, or they have dirt bikes. Anyway, so first is the Queen. I kind of leaned a little more towards a melee because I like melee more.
Yeah.
She has sprint because 8-inch movement with sprint means you get to move 24 inches on a double move.
Remind us what sprint is?
Sprint means that on your second move in your activation, you get to double your movement. So you get to move 8 inches.
And because the dirt bike's a mount, that works with that.
Yep. And then you get to move 16 more inches. If you upgrade to the cutter, it's 9 and then 18, so you get to move 27 inches, ignoring terrain.
Witness me.
She fast, and because she fast, I gave her a chain axe, no ranged weapon yet, a mesh armor and undersuit. So she's a little bit tougher because she's going to get in there. The Matriarch, I also went with 1 Matriarch and 1 Death Maiden. I gave dodge because it's a generically good skill. Again, has mesh armor, no undersuit on this one, because she's going to stay a little bit back because she has a bolt gun. They get bolt guns. Bolt guns are good. Taking advantage of that 3-up ballistic skill. Probably going to give her a melee weapon at some point in the future. The real downside with running all dirt bikes is you can only have 2 weapons on you unless you get the suspensor harness, which lets you take 1 more. So I didn't want to give her 2 things and then have to...
And no unwieldy weapons on those dirt bikes.
So I don't have any unwieldy weapons on anything. The Death Maiden, I gave Combat Virtuoso because it's really good. And
it's fun. It's fun.
An 8-inch movement, Combat Virtuoso.
I'm sorry. You gave this Death Maiden Venom Claw.
Oh, right.
No, well, that's not a bad thing.
Yes.
But when you say Combat Virtuoso, which remember increases your range, and you say Venom Claw, you know that scene in the original Nightmare on Elm Street where Freddy's walking down the street and doing the giant hands with claws? That's what I see in my head.
Now, but what does it mean when you use it with knives? Do you have them like on the end of a stick?
No, you just throw it.
Okay, you just throw it.
No, everyone is Stretch Armstrong.
Oh,
everyone's Reed Richards here.
So I also went with a needle pistol. We have a Venom Claw, Mesh, Undersuit, and a Chemsynth because I had 15 credits and she has 2 toxic ones.
And the Chemsynth does work on melee too.
It does. I took a specialist with a grenade launcher, gave her Mesh, and later I'm going to give her a Chem Thrower.
So my problem with giving the Chem Thrower later is that then you have a Chem Thrower and a grenade launcher on somebody, and that is just so many credits on a specialist.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Because when I'm in short range, when I have -1 to hit, I'm going to just flamethrower you. And when I'm at long range, when I can't hit you with a flamethrower, I'm just going to shoot a grenade at you. It's going to be great. She's going to be 300 credits, and I'm going to love it.
You know what? That's just how late campaigns go.
Yeah. Then I have 2 sisters, exactly the same, at Lasgun, Chainsword, Mesh Armor. Because Chainsword gives you +1 to hit, so you're hitting on 3s. And again, I wanted to lean a little more towards melee. If I could flavor this for Corn, I would. I thought about doing Corn, but I don't want to complicate it.
If you want to know how to do that, see our Chaos Corrupting Your Gangs video.
Boom! That was totally on purpose. And then I have 2 little sisters, both with a stub gun, fighting knife, and flak. So flak is the best armor they can take at gang creation, which does suck. Stub gun is only 5 credits and +2 to hit at short range. And fighting knife is slightly cheaper than the stiletto knife.
Yep. Yeah, it's 5 credits cheaper.
So they are there to get in the way. Other than that,
but they still have bikes.
But they still have bikes because they're not going to be able to get in the way if they're like way behind everybody.
Yeah. Wait for me. I need to jump in front of you.
So yeah, I took a very strange approach to it, but that's how. If I were to play Escher tomorrow, it would be this list.
I mean, if you want to play the butt kicking list, you have a bunch of sisters with las guns. You have champions with plasma.
Yeah.
And a leader with plasma. There, we made a list for you.
Because plasma's broken, las guns are too cheap.
Right. I mean, but and you can do that if you really like. If you need to win a campaign, or you've got, if that's how you like to play Necromunda.
Yeah, I mean,
Escher has great shooting and great access to plasma. You give your champions either dodge or spring up. Yeah. You give your leader dodge or spring up. You give her a melee weapon as well because they can fight melee just as well.
Yep.
You shoot at the back, and then if someone gets forward, you punch them in the face.
Yep.
Death Maiden later. Ash-based especially, Death Maiden is hard to do if they don't have a mount.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they got a long way to walk. Melee in general in the Ash race is hard, as we talked about in our Ash race video. But a Death Maiden can pull it off because she's got toughness 4, sickness movement, and you can give her a mount. And putting her on a cutter and crashing her into a ridge hauler with a last cutter is funny.
That is funny.
For the 3rd time this video, witness me. Now I'm picturing a Death Maiden with a chrome.
Oh, that sounds
veil.
great.
Yeah.
That sounds great. A chainmail veil. A chain veil.
Name your gang. War Girls.
Hell yeah.
There we go. All right. So that wraps up Escher. My first gang that I played was Escher. Well, the first game I really played because I tried to get into Outcasts. That was a mistake. That video is coming much later because we're doing all the other ones first. One of my first gangs. They're not quite as generalist in the same way as Orlok,
right?
Who we'll get to, but they're still pretty generalist and a good thing to start with. They don't hold your hand like Goliath do, though.
That's true.
If you misplay Escher, you will die.
Yeah.
Which is why they're only number 2 or 3, depending on which one of us, for our which gang you should start with list. But they are really fun. They're very thematic. The models are all great.
Yeah.
Both the Death Maidens and the Wild Runners are great models. The only one that sucks is the Chimerex.
Yeah. And it's Forge World, just ignore it.
Yep. The Fear Cats are okay, but they're also Forge World, not great.
Yeah.
So overall, one of my favorite gangs, but I say that about all the gangs.
True.
And great at stabbing things and poisoning them.
Yeah. Awesome.
So let us know below if you think we missed anything. People have pointed out some great things in the other videos we've done because people have like said, hey, you missed this, or here's something I do. And we can only come up with so much information in our brain. So do read those comments because often there's some pretty good advice down there.
We're only human.
Some people pointed out some great things to do with some of the Escher or the Vansar texts that make them better than we thought. Okay. And yeah, a lot of people did say the Forgeborn is not as bad as we ragged on. And I kind of agree after reading some of their comments.
After reading the Wild Runner?
Yeah, the Wild Runner's worse than the Forgeborn.
Yeah,
sorry, Forgeborn. You're cooler.
You're cool. You're just expensive.
Yes. Yeah, that was it. Well, that's it from us this week. We'll be back next time with hopefully another rundown video. We've got a few up in the playlist if you want to see the other rundowns or the rest of the Necromundowns. Until next time.
Bye.